selling a recruitment business is a once in a lifetime thing for most people, and there's no learning curve. It's like that.
Yeah.
You know, people come along, they'll say, "Oh, it's not personal." It is personal.
Did it matter to you who bought it?
Yes, 100%. I had a number of offers. I turned down the highest bidder. They didn't really have much to offer the business. When you've put your life into building a brand, you almost want to pass on the baton in a way.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of RecTalk. I'm your host, Nitin Sharma, owner, founder, CEO, and all that good shit of RecTools.io. RecTools.io is the only whole-of-market directory of the entire recruitment supply chain into your recruitment business, your talent acquisition team, or even directly into your business. If you're looking for things like an applicant tracking system, maybe a new CRM, somebody to do your marketing, maybe you're looking for an employer of record business that can help you offshore staff out in South Africa, which I highly recommend doing. Maybe you're looking for a consultancy to come in and help you with an AI transformation and automation transformation. Or actually, maybe you're looking for a consultant to come in and help prepare you for exit. This episode's probably going to be one for you. RecTools.io, free to register, free to use today, tomorrow, and forever. And it brings me great joy to welcome Matt Fox from the RecTools recommended Exitus Advisory. I'm trying to shake your hand there, Matt. You can't see because I'm down here.
I can't see through the microphone. That's an awkward start, isn't it?
Hey, why not? This is it. This is why it's raw, unscripted, unfiltered, mate. Thank you so much for joining me, mate. I know it's a long drive up, but I've been looking forward to this one because actually there's not that many people in the recruitment space right now that can chest out, say, no, I've been there, done that, and now I'm not just going to sell you my time in exchange for some cash to top up my living expenses, but actually I'm going to invest my time into you and your business in helping you replicate the journey that I've been on.
Indeed.
And that's probably the sort of the nicest way I can put what it is you do, because I was keen to work with you from the first time we met, which was at Team Conference.
It was.
Tell us a bit about you, Journey, Exitus, and Polaris is something that you recently launched as well, right?
Polaris Growth, yeah, it is. Well, thanks very much for the intro.
That's all right.
That was quite good. Thanks.
Oh yeah, we'll clip that. You can use that.
I will. I'll
transcribe that and be like, that's what I do.
Brilliant. That is exactly what I do. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's fair to say. I think the market is. There's a lot of people out there that are offering kind of advice or. I suppose sort of NED services, if you like, but it does seem to be very much a sort of a fee for some time, and maybe sort of pop in once a month and have a coffee and how's everything going and give everybody a bit of a cuddle and off we go until next month. And for me, that kind of didn't really seem to deliver much in the way of value. So I wanted to come up with something a little bit different in terms of an offering. After I sold my own business, and so Exitus and Polaris is it, and how that differs is it's all about supporting recruitment business owners on a journey, though. So everything we do is goal related, and that could be personal goals. It could be in terms of an income a level that you personally want to achieve. It could be a growth marker that you've got in your mind or something you want to achieve with your business. It could be an exit, a sale at some point, or preparing the business for that. But everything we do is about guiding that business owner on that person.
So this isn't just about trying to get into that 0.2% of successful sales. This is actually, look, there's more than one way to skin a cat here, right?
There are 1,000 ways to skin the cat. And I think, look, it's fair to say, isn't it? Everybody who launches a recruitment business ultimately is going to want to exit from it at some point. Yeah. And there are 101 ways to do that. But more importantly than that, you've got to enjoy the journey. And
actually think about how you define what exit means, right? Because as you said, listen, I'm sure there's people out there listening that if I said to them, we can get you to a point within 2 years where you don't need to be doing the do anymore, and actually you get to go into your business once a month. Yeah. Give everyone a little cuddle, have a tea and coffee with the owner or the person that you've got running it for you. Yeah. And continue to take a salary and a good salary at that. Like, I'm sure there'd be people that would take that any day over trying to sell.
Absolutely, because and that does work for some people. And actually, I spent probably the last sort of couple of years really prior to my sale doing exactly that. Spent some time building up a property portfolio, some overseas business as well, which in turn then actually made that ultimate exit work a lot better because there was already sort of the next gig in the background really. And I never kind of set out to launch Exitus or and Polaris. It's kind of a when you go through that process and you do sell a recruitment business and exit from it, it's amazing how many people that in the industry that will then want to ask you about it and want to find out about the journey and how did you do that, and actually I'm quite interested in, can you come along and have a look at my business? And all of a sudden this kind of just happened.
You're like, hang on, there's a business here.
Exactly that, and in some ways that's what makes it even more fun, because I can't believe how many or how many differences there are in the recruitment businesses that are now my clients. It's awesome. It's good fun.
How long ago did you sell?
Coming up for a year.
Right. Okay. So you're very, very recent in this journey then,
Indeed.
which makes life a bit better from hearing that perspective, because actually you go, there's a lot of people out there who have been off the tools for so long or don't know what the current market's like. Do you know what I mean? They don't get it, and therefore are trying to replicate times gone by. Whereas yours is, listen, no, this is, pandemic, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, and then a sale, and that's achievable, right?
Indeed.
Tell me a bit about that journey then. Sort of what made you go? Was it a right place, right time? Somebody knocked the door, or not the door, but do you know what I mean? Like, just so happened to come across your business and go, this is a or did you set out thinking, okay, I need to gear this up for sale?
Do you know? I think my journey in some ways is. It's like most other people who set up and launched a recruitment business from scratch. To give you the very sort of potted history, I launched the company back in 2011, and it was the sort of the stereotypical story. It was a shoebox office with 50 quid in my fingers crossed, in the nicest, a bit more than 50 quid, but that's that's kind of the
sentiment,
the basic sentiment. And launched it, grew it, added to the team, built people, built the brand, and before you knew it, we'd started winning a load of awards. And I don't really know how we got there, but we were making money, and it was great, and it was a sort of a bit of an electric journey. And I kind of looked at it and I thought, Jesus, we need to have a bit of a plan and a bit of a strategy around this. And sort of gradually the business became more corporate, and we sort of and I'd looked at diversifying into different sectors, and got some great key people, and I spent a lot of time developing those people. I wanted the business to be somewhere that great recruiters would never be able to leave because they'd earn more money somewhere else. And actually, so what I did was I designed a business that paid really lucrative bonuses, that had the real good reward piece, really good recognition piece, the annual incentives, overseas trips, all of this sort of stuff that people love. Over time, that reward piece has kind of evolved, because not everybody wants to do that sort of stuff, and you've got to have a motivational side of the business that resonates with with your team. But actually, what I did, I made a couple of mistakes, Nitin. Actually, I bred some monsters, and I think a lot of recruitment business owners probably will be able to relate to that. Okay. Had a few people in the business that were. I think what I did was I grew, I expanded, I took on cavernous offices with fitness suites and what have you. I don't know. I thought I was a Wolf of Wall Street or something.
It's the vanity stuff, isn't it?
All of that vanity, indeed. And but what I did was, that's when the business changed for me, because up until that point, making loads of money was fun. It was electric. It was that endorphin rush, that absolute buzz that as a recruitment business owner you get your teeth into, and it becomes addictive. When you do that because you have to, because your costs have gone through the roof, that changes things, and shit gets real. And actually, it changes you as a person. And what I found that I did was I tolerated bad behaviour from people who generated a lot of revenue, because I was too frightened to lose the revenue. And unfortunately, as we know, in any business, behaviour breeds behaviour. And before you know it, you run the real risk of the tail wagging the dog, which I wouldn't say we got to that point, but there were some times where that could have sort of come in. And COVID kind of came just at the right time, really, because in some ways.
Yeah.
And actually, because I was left in a sort of a situation where I had all of the stress of it all had caused quite a negative time for me from a mental health perspective. I suffered a bit of a breakdown, and I'm quite open about that because I think people should talk about that a lot more than they do.
Agree.
And COVID was a real opportunity to kind of get rid of some toxic people. And we emerged from that a lot leaner and without having to tolerate that shit, actually. And it was a great time. And I think a lot of us who've run recruitment businesses came out of COVID, and I think that's the only time in my 24 years in the industry where I would say it's been easy. A lot, and I think we can relate to that. It was easy. Placements were kind of rolling in. Built the business back. Sort of 15, 16 heads. And a lot of fun again. But do you know what? You've got to be excited. You've got to, and I think when you know, you know.
Yeah.
And when you know, you know. And actually, there were a number of different factors. Personally, things had changed for me. I've remarried. I've got two younger daughters. My sons were older, and as I said, holiday apartment business in Spain. I'd built a property portfolio. Look, lots of other stuff going on around the sort of the periphery. I never stopped loving the industry or the business itself, really. But I got to that point where I just felt like I needed something else to be excited about. And also I felt like the business and the team needed a slightly more corporate focus. And having been at that point where I'd had loads of people. And don't let anybody tell you that means your profit's going to quadruple, multiply by 5. No, that's bullshit. It doesn't. Your aggro factor increases by 100, at that level. And I could have gone down that road again, I didn't want it. I didn't want it, and I had a much clearer idea about what happiness looked like, which sounds a bit fluffy, doesn't it? But
not to me. This is the sort of stuff I talk about quite openly. Yeah. When perspective changes, a lot of people have this. It's called the sunken cost fallacy, right? Where you just continue to do something because of the amount of time and energy and effort and money that you've put into it, despite the fact that it's no longer yielding either the results or the satisfaction that it was once doing, right? You flick on Netflix, you start watching the film, you get halfway through it, like, this is a shit film. But you're going to carry on watching it anyway. Why? Because I've watched half of it already. It might get better. Do you know what I mean? It's that mentality of like, well, it might get better. I've fallen out of love with it, but I might fall back in love with it again. And you just keep going, you keep going. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's this point in people's lives, and I think this is happening more and more, where you're running the rat race, and then you stop and realise that I'm not a rat. No, do you know what I mean? Like,
no, you're right. Yeah,
so what the fuck am I doing?
Totally.
I'm never going to win this. This is a wheel. It's a wheel that's going to keep turning, and I'm never going to win this. And all these things that I keep pushing off for like another day. Kids are growing up dead quick. I'm missing that. Every day that I don't drop them to school, somebody else is. Every day that I'm not tucking them to bed, somebody else is. And all in exchange for running a business, which isn't actually giving me the satisfaction that it once did. No. So I get it. You get to a point where you're like, there's more important things. I don't want to do this anymore. But
also, there were some elements around that, and I could feel in myself that I was becoming a bit less patient with some of the sort of entitled sentiments from some of the staff, not all of them, and I must say that, because one of the things that I was such a positive in that business were my people. That I had some awesome people, and in particular, the two ladies that have now become joint MDs. I'm immensely proud of them, and actually I spent a lot of time really kind of upskilling them and sort of putting them through a lot of their ILM training and sort of enhancing their sort of the management skills. One of them in particular would probably admit that side of it probably didn't come completely naturally, but she's made massive progress, and actually got to a point where they could have done with some development, really. And unless I kind of stepped aside or grew the business, there wasn't really anywhere for them to go. And I didn't want to grow it back again. And again, all of these things, there's so much stuff. Just kind of sort of thought, you know what? I think it's time.
Yeah.
And and the lump sum would have come in quite handy. But also, I'm bloody knackered. You run that business with that level of intensity. Because running a recruitment business is hard and it's lonely, and it's like trying to sweep marbles up a hill with a toothbrush sometimes. And it certainly was for the last sort of few years. And I got to a point where I thought, well, do you know what? The stars have aligned. It's the right time.
It's the perfect storm, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah, I'm ready to go.
It was profitable.
The team
it was
are
a
probably
good
ready
business.
for me to go so that they can spread their wings a little bit. Actually, let's do it.
Yeah, okay. For sure. And so, and that was it. And I promised my wife I was going to have 2 months off. 2 years off, sorry. It ended up being, I think, more like 3 weeks, I would say, in the end. And I got sucked back in again, and off we go. It's sort of how it is. I mean, mate, I'm not a painter or a decorator, or the DIY-ing was all right to a point. But I mean, when you've got that kind of sort of that passion about business, you've got to
You're a people
crack
person.
on with it. That's it.
Painting the walls and putting hardwood flooring down ain't gonna.
Mate, I did a bit. I'm shit at it. I'll be honest with you. No, that's not fair. I'm not. But what would take me a week would take a pro, a day. It's that kind of thing. So
Put you in a business meeting any day.
Indeed. Or get me talking to somebody about actually, look, I've got this. I've started this recruitment business, and and I reckon I'm going to do really well with it, but I need a bit of help. I'm there all day. This is it. And
so tell me about some of the inquiries and stuff, or some of the people that you're dealing with. What are the for the benefit of those that are listening and watching? What are the kind of almost your ICP, or what are the things that are your bread and butter? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, there's two sides really to what I do at the moment. The first side is the first sort of side of the business is pretty straightforward. Exitus sort of does what it says really, and so and that is basically working with recruitment business owners who are at a point where they can see that they want to exit. And that might be now. Their business might be in a state that it's ready to go and take to market. In which case, I broker, so I assemble deals and make introductions to buyers. But it's very bespoke. So there's none of this sort of mass marketing, enormous front end fees for glossy brochures and all the rest of it. Invariably, which end up sort of wasting people's time. Like a lot of people in the industry can talk about a horror story around that.
Yeah.
It's very bespoke, very under the radar, because one of the most important things with this is maintaining your confidentiality and making sure that service is discreet. Some people that I work with will come along and they'll be like, well, look, I think I'm ready to exit, and we'll talk about the business. But actually, there might be some elements of that business that could really do with sharpening up, because look, let's face it, selling a recruitment business is a once in a lifetime thing, for most people, and there's no learning curve. It's like that.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck, really? The stuff that you go through is crazy, and the emotional journey as well. It's like the only thing I can liken it to is like selling a kid. It's like selling one of your kids, because people come along, they'll say, "Oh, it's not personal." It is personal, because you've put years of your passion into building, this thing, and it has consumed you really, despite however you try and frame that.
Dare I ask? Did it matter to you who bought it?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I actually, the people that did buy it, I chose. I had a number of offers, and I turned down the one,
the highest bidder,
that was the highest bidder. And the reason for that was because I felt that they didn't really have much to offer the business.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's important to note, this wasn't a distressed sale. It wasn't a situation where we were desperate to just get someone and anyone. When you've put your life into building a brand, you almost want to pass on the baton in a way. And the company that did buy it have made a really good go, and they've got a really good record of it's a buy and build model, but they retain the brand of the recruitment businesses that they buy, and particularly they didn't have anything else in the same geographic area, and the idea was very much about retaining the brand, growing it, but also my team in the way I saw it at the time, would benefit from this because it was a much bigger business. And you know, look, you know, at the size that we were,
opportunities that presents them, growth,
support, mentoring.
Sort of
They've got an internal trade L&D department, you know, and L&D as many SME recruitment business owners will be able to relate to. A lot of the time, you know, some of this stuff's held together with tights and sticky tape, you know, and it's and you kind of do your best with it.
Yeah.
But this was a bit of a step up for them, and I thought actually there's going to be a lot of benefit there. So it kind of works well for everybody. They're talking about growth schemes, share schemes, and what have you for my guys. And I just think, you know, when people have given you a lot of their effort and their energy, don't get me wrong, I've employed some arses over the years, some people that have, you know, displayed the morals of an alley cat, and I think we can probably all relate to that. But on the whole, these guys were awesome, and I wanted to make sure they were looked after.
That's fair. That's fair. Fine. So you've got your people that think they're ready for a sale or are ready for a sale.
Yeah. So we've gone off on a tangent, didn't we? Yeah.
Well, that was my fault. I thought I've got to ask this because I think it's important to understand that, because I think it says a lot about a person. You know, I'm not looking for the highest bidder. I'm looking for the right buyer. You know, I'd be the same.
It'd be great if they were also the highest bidder, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, absolutely. But yeah, you know, yeah. It's like I'm buying it's a used car, but I'm buying a car at the moment, right? And this guy's had this car since new in 2009, and he was like, I've had loads of offers on it, and like some over asking, but I don't have a good feeling. Like you know, it sounded like they were traders, this, that, and the other. It was like you rang me up, you asked me about the car, how long have you had it, but also then like, oh, okay, you enjoying the weather. You know, you were pleasant to me, and I feel as though, you know, what you've described, i.e. wanting a car that you can take to the Lake District with the kids, and this and this and this and this. Yes, I want the car to go to somebody like you.
You almost want to buy a car from somebody like that as well.
100%. Mate, this guy's got every receipt he's ever spent on, like, you know, down to like every time he's put air in the tyres, like he's got his receipts for. You know what I mean? But that's exactly the kind of person you want to buy from.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up as an example is we often do this thing where we kind of put recruitment as in a silo, right, as an industry. We behave as though the recruitment industry is not representative of real world. You know? Make 50 BD calls a day. Well, no one's answering their phones anymore. No. Do you let your team answer the phone? No. So why would clients answer their phone? Why would candidates answer their phone? You know, like it's this thing, right? But in real life, that's how we buy.
I'll come back to something about that in a minute.
Actually. Yeah, please do. Yeah. But like that, in real life, that's how we buy, right? In real life, we like emotion. Emotion takes lead, and like you know, the facts take the sort of secondary thing, and you justify the emotion with the facts. When someone's looking to buy your business, or when you're looking to sell your business, that's going to be the same thing.
Yes.
You have to consider that and bear that in mind. You know, that you don't go to the highest bidder unless you're not emotionally attached to your business, which in which case, you know, probably should have got rid of it a long time ago. You know. So yeah, again, took you off on a tangent. Right, go on.
So there's the brokerage piece.
Yep.
That does what it says on the tin, really. But there are some key differences between some of the more sort of corporate national brokers. And also, if I'm going to market a business, I want to understand it. I want to understand you. I want to know, you know, what your motivation's been, why it is that you want to part with it. You know, and also understand the story, because that's really important. It was important to me, and it was important to certainly the people that bought my business as well. And also, I think having lived through that, I can really relate to, you know, as I say, the personal journey that those owners will go through as well. So that's one piece. The other side of the business is advisory, actually, because, you know, one of the things that throughout my career I've done pretty well at is growing and scaling and driving a recruitment business forward. So, you know, I'm working with a number of recruitment business owners and directors at the moment, and they're across the spectrum. So, you know, I mean, typical client would be somebody who's maybe got, and they're anywhere from startup stage through to, you know, sort of 25, 30 heads. We talked about turnover earlier on, but actually turnover is, for my clients, is wildly different, because if they're a completely contractor-led business, then, you know, it's in some cases, you know, massive. If it's perm only, you know, if you've got a business that's turning over, you know, 3 million with a few staff, they're probably pretty busy boys and girls, you know. So in terms of heads, my sweet spot is probably up to the sort of, you know, the 30, 35 staff. But the advisory piece is I work with all of those owners on a journey. And that'll be whatever their journey is, you know, and it could be the fact that they've got a personal income goal. I've got one client she is just tremendous, but we're working on a bit of a turnaround for her. You know, she's had a few situations over recent years where, you know, her attention's maybe been diverted for various reasons that I won't go into. But actually, it's about sort of almost, you know, resetting confidence for her, establishing a strategy, driving that business forward. What's really apparent is so many recruitment business owners have all got the same shit going on. They've all got the same challenges, and when you talk to people, it's the same things that I struggled with, or the same things that really got my goat, you know. And it will be, and a lot of the time it's, well, how do you balance your time between recruiting new starters, training them, making them work out, finding people that have got, you know, the work ethic, that actually want to turn up, that want to work hard, that understand that this is a great opportunity, you'll get lots out of it, but you've got to put the work in first. Juggling all of that with the marketing, the payroll, the finances, the driving the business, the BD, the growth, you know, all of these things, and actually you end up kind of doing bits of everything and all of nothing.
Yeah.
Which is quite difficult from a mindset, isn't it?
It's almost like you're absolutely right. It's almost like operating as a, dare I call it, a counsellor, right, or a co-founder, right? To sort of sometimes, what's come out of the Recruitment Curry Club a lot is how lonely a lot of these people are.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, having an advisory service that allows you to just sometimes vent. You know, don't want a solution, Matt. I just need to fucking get this out.
Yeah.
To, I know I'm being fucking ridiculous here. I need you to tell me I'm being ridiculous because this is what I'm thinking and feeling. All the way through to, okay, this has happened. I have no idea what to do next. You know, and when you've got a storied kind of career like you have, where you're like, listen, there's not really much that has gone on that I haven't been through, and therefore can provide you with some insights. And be that through your learns, right? Through the things that you got wrong.
And do you know what? Like, none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and you might have seen, I chucked a post on LinkedIn last week, actually, and you know, I was chatting to a guy he's had a technical recruitment business he's run it for, I think, you know, off the top of my head, about 10, 12 years. And he said, I saw a load of stuff you put on LinkedIn you know, a few weeks ago, and he said, really, really resonated with me. And I said, oh, good. Brilliant, good.
Tick,
said,
doing that right.
But you didn't like it or comment or whatever. I said, how come that? Well, if you don't mind me asking, what was that? And he said, well, you know, he said, you don't want to sort of admit in public that, you know, anything's not perfect. And it's mad, isn't it? Because we're all. And I said to him, do you know what? The stuff you've told me about that is a challenge for you, I can tell you about 5 other people I've spoken to in the last 2 weeks that are all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And actually, if we all talked about it, we've all got different ideas on how we'd manage that situation, how we deal with it.
With some pretty
for sure. And I think, you know, that's one thing that if I had my time again, I would change 100%. I'll turn it on its head, and that is that dealing with that I suppose that isolation, because I can't tell you how much you get from you know, meeting, networking with other recruitment business owners. But as an industry, we don't do it anywhere near enough,
because we constantly feel as though and behave as though we're in competition with each other.
Exactly.
Whereas the truth of the matter is that you're all running your own individual race. You know, I call it the motorway analogy. You know, you're on the motorway, no one's ever first. But you have some people that drive as though they're in a race. I need to overtake this one. Now I need to overtake this one. Need to overtake this one. And you're like,
to be fair, that's me on the motorway. Actually,
yeah, I don't get that level of competition, because they're all going to their own journey, on their own journey to their own destination, just as you are. You're in competition with them, but they ain't paying no mind to you. They're not in competition with you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do totally. It's like measuring yourself with someone else's ruler, isn't it? It's like the analogy.
And it's like if you just sort of went, okay, I'm struggling with something, let me just ask my peers, ask people who are in the same space as me. Listen, guys, I'm having this happen. Anyone else had this happen? And if so, has anyone got a solution or potential solution to this? You'll come up with the answer far quicker, and the journey will be a lot less painful, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Than it would do than to just be like, no, everything's fine, everything's good, you know. car's running low on engine coolant and the oil's about to run out, but everything's good. No, yeah. I'm going to keep up with everyone else.
Well,
Until bang, your engine goes.
It's like that thing you turn up for a networking event, isn't it? You know, and people go, "Oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm really busy."
Yeah, really busy, mate.
Really busy.
Yeah,
actually, I'm not. I haven't had a new client for all year, actually, and I'm about to go pop next week, but I'm really busy. And you kind of think, be real. You know, be real. What are you doing here then? You know,
this. Look, you're a massive advocate for the Recruitment Curry Club. You're an ambassador of ours as well now. That's where I think things like that have really helped because we've kind of leave the ego and the bullshit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Put your recruitment pistols down and leave them. You know what I mean? Like this is a no bragging zone. This is a be vulnerable with each other. And yeah, you're right. I think you unknowingly give other people permission to be vulnerable when you display vulnerability. Do you know?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
People find it inspiring. So, right. So you've got the sort of
we will
the best friend thing.
The
co-founder thing. I'll broker you a sale if you're ready, and we'll do kind of get you sale ready if that's what you need.
If that's what you need, yeah. But for a lot of people, it is about. Some people come to me for a, I suppose, to deal with a one-off issue. So they might have a sort of a frustration in their business, and then that may turn into something else. But the clients I work with, they're a real range. I've got a couple of people that are in sort of startup mentality, and by that I mean they're within the first 18 months, and they might be people that have been superb recruiters, and we see this story a lot in the industry, and they've started out on their own but thought, you know what, actually all of a sudden running a recruitment business is actually a little bit more about, well, it's not only about picking up a job, is it? There's so much more other stuff to it.
I need help being a better business person.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So I support them with anything they need. It might be budgeting, it might be forecasting, it might be actually what is the strategy? What do you want out of this business? Because that's where it starts for all owner operators. Really, is what's your aim? What do you want? And that at that point in time might be, well, I really want to get to a position where I can pay myself X amount a month. Great. Okay. Well, how do we model that? And what are the measurables? For me, if I come away from a session with a client and all I've done is had a cup of tea and a chat, that's a failure. Because unless that's specifically what they want, in which case I'm probably going to say, look, I expect your nan's probably a bit cheaper than me for that, But it's got to be about getting something of use for that client, and that will look different to every client that I deal with. But that ranges through from the startup phase to people that have maybe got sort of 5-6 staff and they really want to take it to the next level. So the difference between a recruitment business that's got 5 or 6 heads in it is very often they've pulled in their mates or people that they've known from the industry, and they've probably run out of friends at this point, and now they've got to start thinking about, well, actually, how do we kind of sort of grow up into a proper business?
How to do this properly now?
Indeed, and that actually takes quite a different viewpoint sometimes, and so actually at that point we need to start looking at processes. We need to start looking at as I say, the strategy in terms of sort of what's this going to look like, who's going to be responsible for what, how are we going to target these clients, what's our USP, how do we deliver that, the marketing side of it as well, and also everything from a business perspective, the finances, everything, and actually we work on that plan together, and that's and I can't tell you, Nitin, how much fun this is, for me, and hopefully
you almost get to do the fun stuff without having to do the hard bit, right? Which is the hard bit is getting up and doing it. The fun stuff is sitting, planning, strategizing, and then coming back, or looking at it again further down the line, be it weeks or months, and going, oh shit, that worked really well, great. So a little bit more of this, let's ramp this down a bit, that's not really working, or this is really paying dividends, let's do loads more of this. And you're right, when you're in the reads, it's hard to kind of see that far ahead here. But when you're in a fortunate position where you can take a bird's eye view on things, you get to see the landscape a lot further. You can see potential issues that are going to come up further down, because you're not in there just chopping away. It's an important thing, and I think not enough businesses maybe did that enough, which is why they went from making hay while the sun shined post-COVID,
Yeah.
to then not realising that we don't have established relationships anymore. We're literally just servicing transactional vacancies. Yes, we're making money, but this is not sustainable. And there'll be a point where the plug gets pulled and we don't have embedded relationships here anymore.
And do you know what? That you've hit the nail on the head there. That's one of the things that one of the main observations when I go into so many businesses is that actually they've kind of evolved and grown through a time where actually the market's been busy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we think about the last sort of few years, even pre-COVID, the market has been so candidate led for years. I can remember back to sort of 2008, 2009, where your competitors were running around offering clients placements for £500 flat fee in the commercial market, and you think you're absolutely destroying the market, but that was a completely different sell.
Yeah.
And but certainly the breed of recruiters that have come into the market, probably in the last decade, shall we say, actually haven't necessarily worked in a tight market and haven't experienced that. So what I see in quite a few businesses is actually a real lack of client relationship strength, and we almost take it for granted that actually these jobs are just going to come in. Well, hang on a minute. If you lose a client, that's your fault. It's not the other recruiter's fault or the client's fault.
No.
Because
No,
if
you're
you're
right.
not out there
Yeah.
loving these people and relationship building,
People forgot how to business develop.
they have, absolutely.
And more specifically, there's people out there who just don't know how to business develop.
Or they're in an environment where they're still being told to come back to the point you made earlier on. Well, look, actually, successful business development, that looks like making 100 calls a day.
Yeah.
When was the last time anyone made 100 calls a day? No one. No one's ever made 100 calls a day. And actually, there's probably not 100 people answering the phone these days.
Yeah.
And actually, have we evolved the targets and the metrics and what we know good looks like to fit the current market? Because there's so many businesses haven't actually done that.
Yeah, you're so true. Yeah. You're absolutely bang on. A lot of the guys that I've spoken to recently, when we talk about KPIs and whatever you want to call them, because there's some that have started calling them other things now, decision metrics or whatever. Those KPIs are the same as what they were in 2015.
Yeah.
And the world's different now. Why are we still? You're measuring this is an out of date measurement now.
Totally, 100%.
Well, far be it from me to tell you otherwise. And is that all part of then Exitus, or is that Polaris as well?
So Exitus is much more focused on, as the name suggests, exiting, brokerage, exit planning, succession planning, and everything that goes that falls into that.
Yes.
Polaris Growth. That's purely about growing your business. These are effectively they're effectively sort of trading names that I use just to separate the two areas of the business. But Polaris is about actually supporting you to grow your business, scale your business, and get it to the point that you are achieving whatever your goals are. And we've talked about that, and actually, and I know I've focused very much on sort of personal earnings and finances. Actually, your goal might be the fact that actually you want to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then have Thursday and Friday with the kids.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly valid, because as an industry, we're conditioned to thinking success looks like growth, scaling, massive businesses, loads of staff, loads of stress, and your own private room in the Priory. That's not the case. Different. And I think actually what we need to do is just realise that success looks different to every single person that's set that business up. And I see it as my job now to kind of sort of help people to get to that point, whatever that looks like.
Navigate that.
Yeah, for
mind
sure.
shift, and it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Whereas I think there's I don't brand myself or my offering, if you like, as an NED, and I think that's quite an important differentiation there, because actually the bulk of the recruitment businesses that I work with are in that SME category, and actually there's sometimes a bit of a reluctance in an SME business, and I know because I had one You know, whereas actually, oh, well, I don't think we're quite big enough for an NED. I don't know if we need an NED. Or do we? It sounds like it's going to cost me £1 million for starters, you know. Whereas actually, what I do is much more of an advisory service. It's more of a mentoring, you know, partnership service to get you to that point. And it's scalable, you know, dependent on exactly what your needs are. And I think that's where it adds a bit of value.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. That. What advice have you got for business owners that are sat there right now who are worried about longevity of their business, perhaps are falling out of love with it, or don't know whether it's that they're done or whether it's because it's difficult right now, they feel like they're done? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What advice have you got for people that just kind of need to hear the right thing?
Well, the first thing is talk to people, because there are so many people out there running businesses who are feeling a mixture of the things that you've just mentioned, or all of the things, or at least one of those things, and that's different for every person. But what I find is that the minute I start talking to a new client, not necessarily a client, somebody who's maybe signed up with me for a consultation, whatever, 9 times out of 10 they'll say, do you know what, I can't tell you how much better I feel from just talking through all of these challenges, because I suppose, you know, as a recruitment business owner, you're a bit like a pressure cooker, aren't you? You know, because actually what you're doing is you are spending your life holding other people up, motivating other people, supporting other people, you know, and I suppose sort of driving other people forward and the business. And it's that age-old thing: when things go well, they've all done a fantastic job. When things are shit, it's down to you, isn't it? And that is exhausting. But so many other people are going through it, you know, and this is why you've mentioned Curry Club. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant for that kind of thing. So the first thing I would suggest is that actually you need to have a conversation, because however you're feeling, you're not on your own. There are other people going through the same things, other people that will have dealt with them differently, and actually you may feel very different about your business if you can just iron out some of those, you know, some of those challenges or some of those creases in a way. You also asked about, you know, people that are struggling. Do you know what? It's a tough market. People have been struggling for quite a while now. Who knows what's going to happen this year? Let's keep positive. There's some positive news stories coming out. There's some not so positive news stories coming out. I don't think anybody really knows exactly how things will pan out over the course of this year and beyond. But you know, there is appetite from businesses out there to buy. You know, there are some really acquisitive players in the market. So if there are people sat there that are genuinely thinking, I think it's the right time, you know, mobilise that. You know, a chat costs nothing, does it? You know.
So explore that first. Yeah.
But I think what's going to be really important over the course of this year is safeguarding those client relationships. Anybody that you've built with, you need to be loving. You need to be out there. You need to be, you know, tying them in. You need to be understanding what their plans are. But also, you know, it's about value add, isn't it? You know, for any recruitment business, are we just a business that fills jobs and gives clients candidates, you know, when they've got a vacancy?
What are you? What is your value proposition?
Exactly that. You know, for years now, we've been talking about value add, and I think as an industry, what we will see in you know, in the coming months and years is that the businesses that have really got on board with that, and they've really thought about what else they can do for their clients as opposed to just being a recruiter. I think we're going to see those businesses really sort of taking some market share, because we know when the market's growing and expanding, it's easy, isn't it? There's more business for everybody.
True.
But actually, you know, in tighter times, it's about, you know, I suppose that sort of those USPs really do need to be sort of sharpened and drilled down. So yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting year, I think.
Yeah, no, totally agree, mate. That's a fantastic place to leave it. Really, really insightful. How do people reach out to you? How do people kind of engage in that initial consultation?
If there's anybody out there that wants to have a follow up or a chat, actually that's where most things start. There's an appointment booking link on my LinkedIn profile. Just chuck me a message, whatever. We're all quite informal to start with.
Amazing. Appreciate your time, man.
Yeah,
this has
nice
been
one.
really fun.
I've loved it. Really good fun.
Good man. You did really well. This was your first podcast, was it?
It is. Absolutely.
Making his podcast debut. I should have kicked off with that. Guys, that's all from us. Matt's details, link to his LinkedIn, his website, his RecTalks listing, details about the Recruitment Curry Club, and anything else and everything else that we've spoke about will be in the description below. New episodes drop every Wednesday and every Friday. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the cool shit that you guys do that allows me to continue doing this and call it a job and keep my wife off my back. We'll see you again next time. Ta-ra.